Hey, there's a dog. There's a dog. Roo, roo, roo. Anyhow, he's going to tell us about how Ipswich saved Barcaldine. And, of course, how are you, Harold?
Oh, fantastic. Yeah, with the magic of technology, I'm sitting here outside the Jericho post office, just by the Jordan River, and some of the locals are barking at me.
Isn't it famous?
I'm very well.
It's famous. And, you know, I think Barcaldine, isn't that where the Labor Party and the National Party, Country Party, started?
Yeah, that's right. I've been in Barcaldine. That's where I got this story from. The Labor Party founded there following the 1891 shearers' strike, as did the Grazier Association effectively started the National Party.
And you know what annoys me?
Historic place.
Part of our history, I saw that tree before some low-life conservative bludger burned it down or poisoned it.
Well, it's not burnt down, but there is conjecture whether the strikers actually met under that tree at all. In fact, there's an article to be published soon that suggests it was actually a Salvation Army tree. So the history's a little bit wrong, but Barcaldine, the 1891 strike, is significant in Australian political history.
And as my dad would say, workers united will never be defeated. Thank you.
Yeah, anyway, look, I'm here in Outback, Queensland, and I'm going to tell you how Ipswich is everywhere, including here at Barcaldine. Now, the Ipswich connection to Barcaldine is pretty big, but it's largely unknown. See, in the main street of Barcaldine, there's a big mural painted by Ipswich's Darcy Doyle.
Yes.
Now, it's here because Doyle visited the town and afterwards sent the mural in appreciation for the great time that he had there. But what I'm talking about is way bigger and more historic than that.
Wow.
And for a clue, you just have to walk down the main street past all the pubs and read the historic signs. For example, the Federal Hotel was burned down in 1909, rebuilt, and burned down again in 1962. The Commercial Hotel was burned down in 1909 and burned down again in 1921. West End Hotel burned down in 1915 and burned down again in 1920. The Railway Hotel burned down in 1896, 1927, and again in 1929 while it was still being rebuilt. And so the list goes on. At its peak in 1887, Barcaldine had 12 hotels operating in the town. But obviously, they kept burning down. And with so much competition, Danny, I'm not entirely sure it was always accidental. Now, anyway, a town fire brigade was formed, but the fire brigade could do little without water pressure. So proposals for a water tank and tower were put forward but rejected in 1902 and 1910, and so the hotels remained at really high risk of burning down. Now, finally, funding for a steel tower and tank were accepted, and that's when the government's first hydraulic engineer, John Bailey Henderson, came on the scene. Now, he was famously known as Hydraulic Henderson. In 1880, he built the world's first concrete stepped spillway. It's the wall of the Gold Creek Reservoir at Brookfield in Brisbane, and it's still in use today. In 1898, he turned the tiny outback town of Thargomindah into just the third place in the world to have hydroelectric street lighting, the first being London, Paris, and then Thargomindah. And in 1912, Hydraulic Henderson designed the much-needed water tower for Barcaldine.
Oh, I've seen it.
And to build the tower, Danny,
yes,
in 1914, the government turned to none other than the firm of Ipswich engineers, F.E. Barbatt and Sons.
Of course.
Now, the patriarch of the business was Felix Edward Barbatt. Now, Barbatt had a foundry in Flint Street in North Ipswich. His works had its own railway siding and employed around 120 men at the time of the Barcaldine contract. Barbatt sent half a dozen of his most skilled mechanics up to Barcaldine for the job, which included a 45,000-gallon tank on top of a 100-foot tower. Now, shortly after completing the Barcaldine Tower, one of Barbatt's sons, Arthur, he died of wounds following the Battle of Bullecourt in the First World War. Another son, Percy Barbatt, he served as a councillor on the Ipswich City Council for many years. Meanwhile, in 1928, Felix Barbet, he was advised to go on a holiday to benefit his health. And ironically, it was while on holidays in Hong Kong that Barbet actually died, aged 74. Now, look, his legacy included many big engineering construction jobs, including the Tully Sugar Mill and other plants. But the most visual today is, of course, his Barcaldine water tower. Now, it was a similar design to those he built at the Goodna and Sandy Gallop mental asylums in Ipswich.
Right.
But those two towers are long gone, while Barcaldine's water tower remains and continues to dominate the Barcaldine skyline to this day. Danny, it's a 111-year-old testament to how Ipswich engineering saved Barcaldine from burning to the ground.
Yeah, mate, what a great yarn. And where are you at the moment? What?
I'm at Jericho, which is about an hour outside Barcaldine. It's on the Jordan River, not far from Galilee Lake, so it's a very biblical area. So you'd really appreciate it here, Danny.
Did you stay there last night?
No, I was in Barcaldine last night, but I'm actually driving back. I want to get back to Brisbane tonight so I can watch the Rugby League Grand Finals on TV tomorrow, of course.
But you've got to watch the All Blacks play the Wallabies in Perth at 7:30 tonight. They're playing great rugby union. So come on.
I'm driving as flat out as I can. I'm here in Jericho, and I'm driving as flat out as I can to get home.
You tell them the famous All Black Zinzan Brook gives you permission to speed. And the copper will go, huh? Zinzan Brook?
And I'll add the fine to my travel bill that I think's in your budget, isn't it?
Oh, mate, probably will be. Now, listen, how do we find that? That is a great Aussie story you've just told there. How do you find that out? Where do we see it?
Yeah, that'll be online on my website, historyouthere.com, and you can find links to it on all the socials, on Instagram, Facebook, YouTube, and so on, but historyouthere.com.
And, of course, we'd like to say hello to your beautiful sister, Sophie. Is it so?
Yes, of course. Expect nothing less, Danny, and all of the listeners out there too, because she's listening now, as well as thousands of others around the world.
You're a champion. See you later, mate. That was Harold the H. P. Cock-a-doodle-doo at 8:21 on West Bremer Radio.